fast. So that's how I was wondering.
100% on the under the speed limit, so everything was fine.
Well, there's not that many cops out there here, so.
No, I'm serious. We were being very, very safe.
It looks like it's about ready to snow,
I
so.
think any minute, yeah.
All right, folks, it's 3:15. We're coming back. This is one of the hardest parts about virtual meetings is when folks are in a room or a conference facility. I can kind of wrangle, ring a bell, or do other things to bring them back here. I just have to hope they haven't muted me or shut off their computers entirely. I notice folks are starting to pop back on their videos. That's a good sign that I know you're coming back. So our last session today, and thank you for sticking with us. I know this has been a long day with a lot of really interesting content, but just a lot of content and a lot of time to be on Zoom. Our last session today is focused on food security and nutrition, and this brings together partners from a bunch of different working groups within the coalition. And we have a special guest to kick us off. So I'd like to ask Jamie to step up. Jamie is I think you're a part of a couple different working groups yourself. So Jamie, if you want to go ahead and introduce our next guest, and we'll go from here.
All right, thanks. Hello, everybody. It is my honor and privilege to introduce someone I think is my friend, and hopefully she thinks the same of me sometimes. First Lady Jenny Gordon. So thank you for joining us. I'm just going to read her bio really quickly, and then I'm going to let her take it away. So our First Lady, Jenny Gordon, is the First Lady, and prior to that, she managed day-to-day operations at Merlin Ranch, the Gordon family's cow, calf, and heifer development operation located in Johnson County. She knows her stuff, you guys. This is not in her bio, but if you want to know about cow calf operations, she is someone you should talk to. Jenny grew up in Omaha, Nebraska until her family moved to Buffalo, Wyoming. Jenny's father, Senior Master Sergeant Robert Muir, served in the Navy, Army, and the Air Force. Jenny's mother, Gertrude Muir, was from Austria, and after surviving World War II in Vienna, she moved to the United States. She learned English and raised the family's 10 children, often with Sergeant Muir serving away from home. 4 of Jenny's siblings have served or continue to serve in the armed services. The First Lady received her bachelor's degree in health sciences from the University of Wyoming. She worked for 15 years as a laboratory medical technologist at Sheridan Memorial Hospital. She later served as a field service representative for Abbott Laboratories, where she traveled throughout the Western United States, repairing and servicing laboratory equipment at hospitals, clinics, and private practices. When Governor Matt Mead appointed her husband to serve as Wyoming Treasurer in 2012, Jenny took over management of the Merlin Ranch full-time. The ranch has garnered national recognition for its environmental stewardship and conservation achievements, as well as efforts to promote the sale of Wyoming beef worldwide. Jenny previously served on the board of the Wyoming Stock Growers Land Trust and is a graduate of the Wyoming Leadership Education and Development class. Governor Gordon and his wife Jenny have 4 grown children: Ann Aaron with wife Megan, with husband Austin, and Spencer with wife Sarah and their son Everett. In October 2019, Jenny launched the Wyoming Hunger Initiative, which we all know and love, yes, whose mission is to end childhood hunger in Wyoming, and she's doing a bang-up job. The initiative works to prevent food insecurity by increasing awareness and support for the work of local anti-hunger organizations statewide. And you guys should visit her website because it's awesome. So with that, I will hand it over to the First Lady. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Jamie. That's quite an introduction. So I have to apologize. I'm here at the ranch. It's my last day of quarantine. and my internet connection may not be very fast. So I'll do the best I can, and hopefully I can share my screen with you for this presentation.
You should have access now, but Jenny, let me know if it's not popping up.
Oops, well, are you guys seeing it?
Yep, you're good.
Perfect. Okay, so as Jamie alluded to, when my husband took office, that is when started working on what I wanted the initiative to be for my husband's term. And as I started going around the state, I realized more and more that many people were really faced with food insecurity. And so growing up in a large family, that was something that was very important to me. And I really wanted to make sure that that was something that I was able to advocate for in the state. One thing that I think is very important is to know there are people who have been working in this field for many years, and that what I really wanted to do with this initiative was really to shine a spotlight on it, bring some networking into it so people can work with others, and then to support all of those organizations that are working so diligently in this field. And with that, in October 2019, we launched the Wyoming Hunger Initiative. And let me tell you what the Wyoming Hunger Initiative is and is not. The Hunger Initiative is a nonprofit entity. It does not accept federal nor state funds. And it is really funded by generous donations. 100% are from either corporations or individuals. So we really want to ensure that we're not involved in any of the federal government, the CARES Act money, all of that would be run through other agencies. One thing we are is an organization that doesn't want to reinvent the wheel. As I said, we want to work with those agencies, and we want to work with them, agencies in every single county, because this work is boots on the ground. Those folks are doing pantries, they're doing Friday food bags, they're doing all sorts of strategies in order to help feed people. And of course, with COVID-19, that has really escalated. You know, our mission was very simple. We wanted to end childhood hunger in Wyoming. And of course, as we've learned, especially with COVID, if you have a hungry child, you probably have a hungry family. And of course, our seniors are one of the next most vulnerable population. And so we really have been really focusing on just helping to try to get food to folks who need it throughout the state, regardless of their ages. You know, since COVID began, we did get some grant money from organizations as well as donations that we really wanted to get immediately out into the community. And so since the start of COVID, we have actually given out $328,000 in emergency food relief funds. And we did that to every single county and to as many agencies as we could find. We also have given out some infrastructure grants, and that would be about $110,000 worth of those. And those would be grants for fridges, freezers, shelving, any sort of infrastructure that is going to really help those organizations better provide for their clients. And of course, I'm a rancher, and as a producer, what we noticed, especially from some of the folks around here, is that, you know, COVID hit and they said, you know, we're still doing our same day-to-day operations. We don't really feel like we have changed, but we know that people are suffering. And so that kind of got my mind working as to what we could do as farmers and ranchers to really help those who are most in need. And one thing we have an abundance of in our state is, of course, we have some wonderful livestock. We have, you know, beef, lamb, and pork, as well as some wonderful vegetables that are being grown around the state. So our program for that is called Food from the Farm and Ranch. And what we really wanted to do was to work with those agencies on the ground that are already working in this area. Of course, Wyoming Food Bank of the Rockies is doing the food distribution. Our Wyoming Department of Agriculture, which I think you've heard from some of those folks today, were really helpful in getting this set up is how we can get that kind of good protein into our food bank system, into our pantries. And then, of course, the Wyoming Stock Growers Association, which has membership of a lot of folks around the state that are producers that really wanted to be able to help if they could. This program to date has been super successful. This photograph here is actually Jared Hamilton, who is over in Hudson, Wyoming. And as many of you know, and I know you've had on your conversations today, finding a processor who's open to process any sort of livestock right now is really challenging. And what we were able to do with Jared is he would find some slots that were open, and then he reserved those for the Food from the Farm and Ranch program. And we were able to get some livestock there to him, and he was able to get them processed for us. And to date, we've had 54 total animals donated. 21 of them have been through county fairs, and that's something that we had. It was a great way to tap into this program because those kids that have those animals already have the kill date set. So we didn't have to really struggle with getting dates set for that. In addition to that, we've had 27 beef donated through the Wyoming Stock Growers Association, just folks who had a cull cow or an animal that they were able to donate, and 6 hogs. And here in this slide is actually one of my heroes, Jay Butler, who is out of Converse County. He is a school board director, and he also is on the Boys and Girls Club in Converse County there as a director. And what he has done is really what has really made these kind of programs work. You know, he's had the folks donate the animals, and then he's either picked them up or had them delivered to his home place. And then he actually holds the animals, feeds them, and gets them taken to wherever the processor is available. This particular load was going down to 307 Meats in Laramie, which is quite a drive, as you all know, from Converse County. But him and his daughter took the animals down there and were able to get them processed for us. This is, again, from our first delivery, and this just shows the collaboration. We have Stock Growers members, we have Doug Miyamoto from the Department of Ag, Tony Woodell from the Food Bank of the Rockies, Wyoming Food Bank of the Rockies, and of course, Jared there. And it was just a real great day to celebrate people coming together and making sure that we had a Wyoming solution to a Wyoming challenge. And I know many of you, I have heard Jack on here earlier today when I was listening in, and we were able to go down to Central Wyoming College and see their mobile meats lab that they were setting up. It was a very hot day, but we were able to kind of just go through that, see what they're doing. They're doing some great work there. I really applaud their efforts, and I really look forward to them being able to get that operation up and going to help folks in the state with this processing backlog that we have. We were also able to go down to Colorado, and this is the Calicrate meat place down there in Colorado Springs, and they're doing some really wonderful things with mobile processing units as well. And so this is just a demonstration slide from that. Ultimately, what I really would like to see this program become is one where the producer is actually paid for their product. And I know that, you know, all of us producers are very generous and we really want to help folks. But ultimately, the way to keep this program sustainable is to have that producer being paid for their livestock. And so that is our next rollout. We're working on, we're writing a grant that we would be able to pay the processors as well as the producers. And that is really where we want this program to go. We think it's an opportunity to really have a Wyoming solution to the Wyoming challenge that we have, which is food insecurity. And it's really been, you know, just totally magnified by COVID-19. Folks that have never had to access a food bank before, about 40% of the folks accessing the food bank now have never really even done that before. So you can imagine the types of challenges that this brings for families and folks like that. So what we're really working on now is that program where we'll be able to not only pay that producer, but they have the kill slots already set up. We're trying to work on a cold cow program. Most folks around here are spring calvers, so that would be a fall program when everyone gets done checking their cows for their pregnancies and any open cows. Then we would be able to compensate those folks for those animals and then get them into the slaughter process. So really, we see this as an all hands on deck. There's a lot of challenges, but what I love about Wyoming is that people are always ready to roll up their sleeves and get together and work and find solutions. And so I really anticipate that in the future, we're going to be able to work together and get this program up and going, not only for livestock, but also for the farming side of it. And that one's just a little more challenging, as you all know, because of our growing season. But we're partnering with some folks that are working on that challenge and finding a way to get some produce as well as this great protein into our food bank system here in the state. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. I don't know, I know there might be some questions, and so what I've asked is if I won't be able to stay on to the end of this call, and I apologize about that. But if anyone has questions that they would want to put in the chat box and then send, we can certainly get those answered for you at that time.
Great. Jenny, are you able to stay on for just a few minutes for questions now?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Cool. I was going to say, we've got a couple minutes in the agenda. If you can hang for a few minutes, and then if there's other follow-up things, we can send those your way. So appreciate that update in terms of really great work happening on the ground, and certainly in a time with critical need. I wanted to open up to the group if there are questions about the First Lady's current initiative or any of the things she touched on this update. You can put them in the chat or put your video on and ask it directly.
I had a question. I'm Christine Porter. Thank you so much for that. I'm very excited about this program. I know you're working with the Food Bank of the Rockies and Tony Waddell. Is the food going all then being distributed to people via the Food Bank of the Rockies, or how is the animals you've gotten so far, how have they been shared with people who will eat them, this gorgeous Wyoming food?
Well, that's a great question. Thank you, Christine. So currently, it's been a little bit of a mix of both. That a lot of the fair animals were actually donated, and the Food Bank of the Rockies system trucking picked them up and distributed them. The last 7 beef that were donated that Jay and his daughter took down to 307 Meats were actually earmarked for Boys and Girls Clubs throughout the state, because the donors it was a donor directed situation. And so we really will work with whomever. So if it is going to Food Bank of the Rockies, they will pay for the processing. And if it's going to the Boys and Girls Clubs, then the Wyoming Hunger Initiative paid for the processing. So it's a little bit of a mix now, and we'll continue to work through whichever is the most expedient way to get good protein into folks' bellies.
Appreciate that. Thank you. There's a question in the chat about how you're working to address the need for more processing. The meat processing was a big session earlier. It's big on people's minds. Do you want to, I know that's not a specific goal of the Hunger Initiative, but it sounds like one you're touching on for sure. So love to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, I think the Wyoming Department of Ag has really stepped up with their CARES funding and has really worked with those processors that are already currently up and running to actually enhance their facilities or enlarge them. And so I think that because anything that goes into the food bank system really does have to be state or USDA certified, as well as a school district or a Boys and Girls Club. So for us at this point, we really do need to work with our partners on the ground who are already, certified for those type of inspections.
Jamie, did you have a follow-up question on that, or I don't know if that tackled what you were curious to hear about. Yep, okay. Other questions? We've got a few more minutes before we need to move on to other topics, and the First Lady probably needs to hop off. Other questions?
I can just say we're all very glad to see you so healthy.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a long 10 days.
It's not often that I'm listening to the news on public radio and say, oh, is that going to impact my meeting? But the bigger picture is health and well-being in that. But it was my first like, oh, echo that well wishes. Any other questions? All right. Feel free then to just turn on your videos and say thanks to Jenny for joining us today, and Trista, her Chief of Staff, for helping coordinate all of this. Certainly appreciate that contribution in your time, and look forward to the good work to come in the year and more than 1 year to come. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. And thank you for all you folks are doing. I know you have a lot of work ahead of you as well, and I really applaud you for all that you're doing. Have a great rest of your meeting.
Thanks, Jenny. All right, so we're going to move on now to other sections within the food and nutrition world. I think we're going to start with folks from the Edible Prairie Project, Megan and Aaron. And I can't remember, Megan and Aaron, do you need to share screen? Remind me what we're doing for slides on this one. Or does Christine have all the slides? Nope, not Christine. Megan and Aaron, do you guys have slides? Do I need to make you all co-hosts? You're muted if you're talking.
Well, and I think actually at one point we talked about maybe having, Christine, do you remember, did we want Edible Prairie Project to kind of flow into yours actually? Was that a final decision? Okay. But I think everybody else in the session did have slides they want to share, Carrie.
Okay.
So I think everybody does
make
need.
everybody co-host then. Megan and Aaron, if you're on, we'll start with you. Otherwise, I'll jump down to Wyoming Food for Thought and Cassandra.
Yes, sorry, I'm here. I had to take a call from the vet. So we were going to go right before Christine, but we can go now if we prefer. Just, yeah, either way.
You can go ahead. I'll loop back to both things anyway.
Okay. Start the video.
Megan, I just made you co-host, so you should be able to share now.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Carrie. Okay, can everybody see the screen?
Yep.
Okay, great. So I'm Megan McManaman. I am co-director of the Edible Prairie Project, and I co-direct EPP with Aaron Galloway, who you will meet tomorrow during the workshopping session. And those are our pictures. Okay, so we're going to talk about increasing food access through a community-supported agriculture model, and we call these veggie baskets. In 2019, we first started this program. This was also the same year our nonprofit was founded, and we basically founded EPP to do the Veggie Basket program. So this is our premier program that we offer to our community. Our summer veggie basket includes 7 to 9 items. You can see a picture on the slide. So one item would be a bundle. You're not getting one, radish or one beet. You're getting a bundle. That's an item. And this runs for 10 weeks. We also include produce. Well, it's primarily produce. We also include locally sourced eggs, honey, and local meat. We try to do at least 1 round of beef, 1 round of lamb, and 1 round of pork in our 10-week baskets. Our baskets are valued at $25 a week or $250 for the season, and that is our base cost. So that covers the cost of production and covers the cost of equipment and supplies. And this became our retail level for the basket. So this is open to anybody in our community. You can buy a basket for $250. Because we are a nonprofit, we also wanted to increase access to local food to low and moderate income families in our community. So we offer a discounted tier. It's discounted up to 60% for SNAP and WIC families. So they pay $10 a week for the same basket. Our SNAP baskets also include kitchen utensils and budget-friendly recipes. And the kitchen utensils we did the first year were things like oven mitts, whisks, spatulas. We worked with our C&P coordinator to find out in her classes what are the basic kitchen utensils her clients didn't have in the classes, and that's kind of what we went with for that first year. And so how did we cover the cost discrepancy, right? So that's $150 for each SNAP and WIC basket that's not covered. So what we did was we also created a Friends level. And what a Friends supporter would do was they'd buy their own basket at $250, and then they would make a donation to EPP for $150. And so that's how we kind of made up that cost difference, and also created investment in our community to kind of make this program sustainable. All participants receive the same quantity and quality of local produce, and that is vitally important to the success of our program. We don't want anyone feeling singled out. We want everyone to have the same, no matter what price is paid. And we do try to keep our produce very local, so we try to source within a 100-mile radius of Gillette. And in our weekly newsletter that goes out with our CSA, we include recipes. We tell you exactly where that produce was sourced. We often include farmer and rancher bios, and we tell you how far that produce has traveled. So you know exactly where that bundle of beets you got was grown and who grew it. And that's kind of how the program was run in 2019. And so we had 8 SNAP and WIC families sign up for the program. Only 4 completed the full 10-week series. And just in the feedback we received, we didn't require anyone to put down a deposit. So our SNAP WIC families paid for their basket at the time of pickup. So I think we probably lost a couple people that way. And also there wasn't really an incentive to stay part of the program. I mean, obviously we hope the produce is enough of a draw, but for some people it's not. And so that's kind of how our first year went. We also didn't have 501c3 status at this point in time, so we weren't eligible to receive the free SNAP equipment that's offered by the state of Wyoming. But what we found in our customer surveys was that most of our SNAP WIC families, we can't accept WIC payment anyway, so that was a non-starter. But most of our SNAP clients really didn't want to use their SNAP card anyways. They preferred to pay with cash. So we don't feel like we lost a lot of people during that first year, but it's always a possibility. And then we did do a customer survey that did help inform some changes we made in 2020. So for example, we ended up moving our pickup location for the baskets. We added a second notification reminder closer to pickup time so people wouldn't forget. A lot of people said it was too much produce in their basket and they couldn't consume it all within 1 week. And so those were just some of the changes we'll talk about for 2020. But I did want to include a side note that we are a 501c3 now and we can accept SNAP payments. As you'll see later on, we don't because we've moved to a free basket model. But if you are wanting to do a CSA and you do want to accept SNAP, it's very important to note that you're only supposed to accept SNAP payment when those goods are delivered. So there is a 2-week period where you can take that money before they actually pick up their basket. But if they fail to pick up that CSA share, you have to refund that SNAP money back to them. So when we implemented our deposit system, we just didn't want to get tangled up in all that. We wanted to make sure that if we have to go back to accepting SNAP, we will do it at the time of pickup, just so we're not rubbing up against any illegalities. So just some things to keep in mind. SNAP does work a little differently from farmers markets if you decide to take it as payment. So in 2020, we changed our model a little bit. And we were able to secure a research grant that allowed our CSA to be funded through this grant. And we'll talk about that a little more. But we did add a couple seasons just to increase access to local food. So we added a 4-week spring green season that runs through May. We still kept our 10-week summer season. And then we had 1 fall pickup, which is just the one time you come pick up your basket, but it's a 75 to 100 pounds of storage crops. So you're getting a lot all at once. So we're trying to just make it more accessible and affordable for people who maybe like the idea but don't want to commit to a full 10-week summer season. We did keep our 3 tiers. but we decided to offer our SNAP and WIC baskets for free. We felt very strongly we wanted to do this in 2020 just because we did have some layoffs happen in our community. And then obviously COVID hit our families really hard, and we just felt strongly that this was something we needed to do. And luckily we were connected with Dr. Christine Porter and Alyssa at University of Wyoming, and they worked with us to fill out a grant as part of the Equality State Research Network, which was able to fund these free baskets. And just in case anyone is interested, ESRN does have an application out now for another community-based research project grant. So if anyone is looking for an opportunity like that, I think the application is due in February. Let's see. Oh, also, I did just want to note, so we were able to offer 9 free spring baskets, 8 free summer baskets, and 7 free fall baskets. And we did keep our tiered pricing model. So what it looked like was we had the free SNAP and WIC baskets, we had our retail level, and then we had our friends level. But we saw a dramatic reduction in the number of supporters signing up at the friends level, possibly due to layoffs and COVID. And so this grant was absolutely essential to allowing us to move into this grant-funded CSA to offer those free baskets. For our SNAP and WIC families, we also offered higher value kitchen utensils. Depending on the season, the kitchen utensil was different. So for example, with spring, we did salad spinners. For summer, we did a cutting board and knife set. And that was direct feedback we received from our 2019 participants that said, I really need a cutting board and knife set. And then for fall, we did a 15-piece Styrex or Pyrex storage set. And then how we kind of structured the free CSA was we did ask our participants to pay a refundable deposit just to get them vested in the program. Once they successfully completed the program and they just had to pick up a certain amount of baskets, they got that deposit back. Again, we didn't accept SNAP for the deposit because of the issues I talked about earlier, so we did make that cash or check. And then no one seemed to have an issue with, kind of paying the deposit with cash or check. We also built in a $40 incentive for our families that completed the questionnaires that was designed by Alyssa and Dr. Porter. These questionnaires ask questions about household food security and household fruit and vegetable consumption. So we did a pre-survey and a post-survey, and if our families completed both, then they got a $40 thank you for their time, and they got to select a cookbook of their choice, which we felt was very important, that they were able to pick their own cookbook as they're familiar with their cooking needs and kind of and they know the food that they want to cook. So we didn't want to impose a cookbook on them. All right, so changes made and more lessons learned. It's kind of the story behind CSAs. You're always learning more lessons. So this year, all of our SNAP WIC families that signed up for any of our seasons, spring, summer, and fall, all completed, which was absolutely amazing. And we chalked this up to, I think, having the deposit help because they felt vested. The incentive rewards that we kind of built in for this survey and the research, I think really helped tremendously as well. But I think most importantly, our customers kept coming back because they felt like they were part of something and that their voice was going to be heard. And a lot of people just expressed so much gratitude and interest in the study, wanting to know how the information is going to be used, felt really vested in making our CSA better, which I think was just tremendous. And so we're really hoping to build this out more in 2021. We did move to a more convenient pickup location. So our first year we were kind of in a parking lot. It wasn't very nice. And then the one tree we had for shade actually blew down in a storm. So we moved to the Boys and Girls Club, which was great because they gave us inside space so we could store more of our produce out of the sun. And a lot of our families also used Boys and Girls Club services. So it was a lot less distance for them to travel. As I said earlier, the kitchen equipment we selected was based on customer feedback received from 2019, and we definitely did that again this year, just so that'll help us inform the kitchen utensils we offer in 2021. And then what we also did is, like with the typical CSA, our customers, they don't get to pick the produce, they just get whatever happens to be growing in the garden in that time. We kept that model, but because we had such a weird growing year, and I'm sure everybody who grows experienced this, we had a lot of opportunities where we had to split produce, where we didn't have enough, let's just say radishes for a full run, for example, and we had to split that with kale. And so what we did with our customers was we would ask them, do you want kale or radish? And so that just kind of built in more opportunities for them to feel like they were a part of building their basket. And then obviously the next week, then they would get the choice that they didn't the other week. So if they picked radish, the next week we'd give them kale. So everybody ended up getting the same thing. We also had a grower who grew a lot of herbs and a lot of different produce we've never been able to put in before, but maybe not enough for everybody to get one. So we kind of also set up a share table, and we just had some, like one example was basil. And we asked people, would you like basil? And we knew not everyone was going to say yes. So we also just had other freebies like that, like basil, that people could pick if they wanted. And that just kind of helped build in that choice, build in more of that customer investment.
Megan, you've got 1 minute.
Oh, okay. All right. So we'll speed this up. So these are our first results. These are very preliminary from our pilot study that we did as part of our research grant. And you're the first people to see these. And Alyssa and Christine can jump in if I'm saying anything different. But on the food security side, we use the USDA short form questionnaire. And you can kind of see that it looks like food security did increase. And we've got it both here by basket season and just aggregate all basket seasons total together. So it looks like our intervention of free baskets did help increase household food security. It is important to note that our sample size was extremely small, so we're not looking at statistical significance. And then we'll just scoot right along to fruit and vegetable consumption. We kind of see the same results where fruit and veg consumption is trending higher in our households. So the recommendation is about 5 to 9 servings of fruit and vegetables combined on a daily basis. Ours increased fruit and vegetable by about 0.78, so not a huge increase, but trending upward. And it's just important to note that no participant in our study hit those levels, even with the baskets and substantial increases reported in their fruit and vegetable consumption. So even with getting this produce like every 10 weeks, we're still not hitting those marks that, the USDA recommends. All right, so moving forward, we want to continue to offer free CSAs to SNAP and WIC families. We're also going to revamp our tiers, where we're going to be able to offer discounted baskets to our families that don't meet federal nutrition assistance programs, but still fall below that self-sufficiency standard as defined by the Wyoming Women's Foundation. So we're going to try to incorporate those families that often fall through our safety net. We'd like to see all of our retail level customers donate to our program because we are a nonprofit. We feel like it's important to just have that investment from our community. And we're looking at kind of considering more add-ons like value-added products once EPB gets a commercial kitchen. That would include things like bread and salsa. And we try to focus on the customer and the farmer. So we pay our farmers 80% of our calculated local retail costs. So we look at our grocery stores, our farmers markets, we get price lists from our farmers, and we make sure that the price that we pay them is extremely fair. We're also nonprofit on both sides of the equation, both in terms of who we sell baskets to and who we purchase produce from. So our farmers are women, new and beginning, military veteran, Black, Indigenous, people of color, and socially disadvantaged as defined by the USDA. But we usually have a more expansive definition just to include disabled farmers and LGBTQA+ farmers. The biggest issues we're seeing is, especially with new and beginning farmers, it's hard to know what to plant and to plant at scale because growing for a market is very different than growing for your own home produce consumption. And we need more local farmers in our area. So if anyone's willing to move to Gillette to farm for us, please let us know. And here's our slide for more information. You can find out more about the Edible Prairie Project and our contact information for both myself and Erin. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Megan. Fun to see the evolution of this and the adaptations that you've made over time. Exciting to see it grow. So excellent. All right. I think up next is hearing from Wyoming Food for Thought. And I think they're focusing on increasing access to farmers market. Cassandra, do you have slides?
I do.
Ooh, got an echo. Let me make you co-host.
Can you hear me now?
I can. Are you sure?
Is that a little better?
You should be able to share now.
Okay, awesome. Jamie sits right in front of me, so we have this issue all the time.
Mute your audio there, Jamie.
Let's see.
Presenters, I'll try to wave a pink flag at you when you've got about a minute left, just so we can stay on schedule.
Okay, can everybody see my screen okay?
I think so. Yep, we're good.
very lovely.
Oh, thank you. See if I can get it all the way. Whoa. Sorry, I'm waiting for it to load on my end now. Okay, so I'm going to talk about increasing access to farmers markets. So my name is Cassandra Bush, and I am the Associate Director and Market Manager for the Wyoming Food for Thought project. So a little bit about Food for Thought. We're located in Casper, and my director, Jamie Purcell, started the organization in 2012. We started a weekend food bag program because at the time in Casper, there was conversation of a potential existing program that was going to be discontinued, and she didn't think that that was appropriate or fair or right or any of those things. And so she started a weekend food bag program with the Natrona County School District. I came on shortly after that, but ideally the intention, I came on as a volunteer, but the true intention of what we had for our weekend food bag program was to be able to implement as much local food into our food bags as possible. And so we had the opportunity in 2013 to take over management of former downtown Casper Community Farmers Market. And the intention with that, what we thought at the time was that there was going to be this massive abundance of local food that we were going to be able to put into our food bags. And, you know, we quickly found out that that was not the case because there's such a high demand for local food that there really wasn't a lot of food for us left over. And so during that same year, we also implemented our first Food is Free community gardens so that we could start empowering ourselves and others to start growing our own food. In terms of the Food for Thought markets, in 2013, amongst taking over that summer market, we turned it into a year-round farmers market by implementing a winter market. So it became year-round, and it was super exciting. We kept the ball rolling after that, and in 2014, we started accepting SNAP at our farmers market. So we were one of the first in the state that was able to accept that, which was pretty exciting. And then after a little bit of research, we found what's called a Double Up Food Bucks incentive program. And so we implemented that in 2015 at our farmers markets, which is an incentive program to get people to have access or double the buying power of locally grown produce. So we maintained SNAP and Double Up for the remainder of those years leading up to this year. And then in 2020, we got hit with COVID. And so then we transitioned to an online market. So what I'm going to go over, you know, in this presentation is just going to be food stamps and SNAP, Double Up Food Bucks, online market, and a couple other ideas that we as an organization have implemented in our community. So why accept SNAP at farmers markets? According to the snapshot of SNAP in Wyoming, there's about 26,000 people that qualify for SNAP, or that's about 1 in 22 people. Of those numbers, 12.6% of households are considered food insecure, or they don't know where their next meal is coming from. And then of those numbers, 74% of SNAP participants are families with children. So those are pretty significant numbers that we have a huge opportunity of capitalizing on in terms of that demographic if we can get them to come to the farmers market and redirect those local or those government funds into our local economies through buying local produce. So in terms of how it works for us, we manage the SNAP machine at our market manager booth at the farmers market. So typically if we have somebody come up to our booth, we'll have them go around and do a little bit of shopping to figure out what they're interested in purchasing and how much they want to spend. The great thing about SNAP too, though, is if they don't spend all of their tokens, we can always apply it back to their card. So it's not that big of a deal, but it just gives them kind of a base to start with. And then we'll run their card and provide them with SNAP wooden tokens that they use like cash with vendors on approved items. And then the great thing about that is at the end of the farmers market, the vendors come to us to reimburse those tokens, and we'll give them cash or cut them checks. So transitioning into Double Up Food Bucks, this opportunity presented itself shortly after we started SNAP, so we were really excited about it because, like I said, it's an incentive program which gives them double the buying power of being able to purchase local produce. So it's specific to raw local produce, fruits and vegetables at farmers markets and in grocery stores. So a benefit with it is that it's a win-win-win in the fact that we're able to get more produce to low-income families, especially that local produce. those vendors are increasing their sales and they're increasing their farm profits, and it gives them a bigger customer base. And then, like I said, redirecting those government funds down into our local economy, it gets redirected and respent with those local producers in our local communities. So how it works at our farmers market is it's a 1-to-1 match with SNAP. So we do a max of $20 a day. So ideally what'll happen is people will come up, they'll charge their SNAP card, and then we can provide them with $20 of Double Up Food Bucks wooden tokens that are specific to local produce. The great thing about the opportunity with Double Up Food Bucks is we have it at our farmers markets, but in other areas around the country, they accept Double Up Food Bucks at corner stores, grocery stores, mobile farmers market, and alternative food retailers as well. So it's a big opportunity for people that are trying to incentivize low-income populations to purchase more local produce. Oh, this is just the same. Perfect. In terms of the transition of the online market that we went to, we had been talking about wanting to do an online market for years and years and years, and then it took a pandemic for us to actually implement it. So the benefits that we've found with being able to implement an online market through our network of vendors is that it's increased access to shopping outside of the scheduled farmers market time and day. So in terms of our summer market, it's Tuesday nights from 5 to 8, and so we doesn't operate after that time frame, and so low-income populations, unless they're within that vicinity of our farmers market, typically can't make it down there. But with this opportunity, they now have access to shopping longer. We've actually modified our online market and now offer delivery to where people don't actually have to come to our program center. So that's been an added bonus as well. But it's based on, you know, your community and what's going to work best for you. So I also know that there's other communities around the state that are doing online markets as well, and they're offering multiple day pickups with different times and potentially different locations too. So there's a lot of opportunity in and of the online market space itself. The thing that I like about it too is that you get to compare what's at the market before going to the grocery store. So you're not having to make a stop anywhere, or you're not having to go out of your way to go to the physical market before figuring out what's available and then having to go to the grocery store. So I think that that's beneficial, and I hope a lot of other people think it is as well. And then the great thing too is that vendors don't have to be present to sell their products. This diversifies their incomes as well and gives them more opportunity to sell their products. And so here's a couple other ideas that we've come up with. I actually didn't have a slide for this, but we have been trying to implement a mobile market for at least 3 or 4 years. So at the time we had purchased a bus, I think it was end of 2017. We'd purchased a bus. There was a designated agent clause that we briefly discussed earlier today in the Wyoming Food Freedom Act. And so we were going to be the designated agent on behalf of all of our vendors, load this bus up with stuff, and then drive to all corners of our community, accepting SNAP and Double Up and allowing people to, you know, shop on our mobile market. But they made a modification to the Wyoming Food Freedom Act, which took that clause out. And so they said that we were going to be operating illegally. And so we've been trying to fight the good fight ever since by working on shared commercial kitchen spaces and all of our other projects outside of what's in this presentation. And then COVID hit again this year. So we were ready to rock and roll. And so we've been struggling with that, but that's a huge opportunity if you have the opportunity to implement that within your community, because you're providing direct access to those people by going into their neighborhoods, which is great. And then I also mentioned that our transportation doesn't have an opportunity of extending the time on Tuesday nights, but I know that they've also been really receptive to potentially changing or adding a location, and so that could be an opportunity within your community. We also have Sensible Nutrition and other organizations come to our markets, and so it's been able to provide a lot of access and additional resources, especially for free for people that come to the farmers market, to where it's more of a one-stop shop instead of going to all of these separate places. And then we also have implemented grassroots marketing for our markets as well as the programs that we offer. So we partner with different organizations that work with these demographics and low-income populations to where we can partner with them to get them resources about SNAP and Double Up to help spread the word. And then we've also partnered with the state of Wyoming and sent out postcards regarding our information. And so there's a lot of ways that we've gone about it to where it saved us money on the marketing and advertising end. That was a little on the creative side, but it ended up cultivating really great partnerships for us and the people that we were benefiting to. And that's it. That's all I have.
I'm just about to wave my flag. You're perfect.
Woo! Okay.
I think we'll have time for questions at the end. So if it's okay with you, I'll just lump them all together.
Perfect.
We'll hear the other chunks from your all's group. Thank you so much, Cassandra. All right, now we're going to Rhonda and Kelly looking at increasing access on the Wind River Reservation. And I believe, Rhonda, you mentioned you all have slides.
Yes, we do. And Kelly's going to speak first, and then I'll take over from whatever.
All right, let me give.
If she can't share hers, I'll share the PowerPoint. So.
Yeah, go ahead and share yours, Rhonda.
Okay.
Hang on, I gotta give you both access. We've got so many people on this call. I gotta scroll through a whole slew of you. It's a great problem to have. All right, Rhonda, you should have screen sharing power now.
Okay.
Do you see the green? Did the green?
Yeah, I need to.
There you go.
I need to get my PowerPoint here. I'll move it over. Can you guys see that?
Looks like it's still loading.
Oh, is it?
You might need to reshare once the PowerPoint has opened. You might
Okay.
need to go stop share and start sharing again, and make sure you select the open window for PowerPoint now.
Hold on. Now I have to. How do I? I can't get back in there.
Zoom is so tricky when you're picking it. It does make sense, but I still get all tripped up of like, which window do I want them to? Is it? Yeah.
Yeah. See, now it's not letting me. Okay, it's not letting me. It's not letting me. Oh, there it goes. Okay. There it is. Okay, now let's start sharing again.
There you go.
Okay. Let's see. Screen two, and then here it is. Is that seeing it now?
I think we're still seeing your desktop.
Are you? Okay, let me move something over. Well, let me. I'm trying to move this over.
There's our agenda.
Okay, I popped that down, so.
Now we know you're a baseball lover, Rhonda. I appreciate that.
Okay, now let's see if I can get that popped up, moved over.
There you go.
There it is.
Now, there you go. Now you're good.
Okay. I had to move it from one side to the other side, so. All right. Do you want me to go ahead and start?
You got it.
Okay. And go ahead, Kelly.
Oh, yes. We're the Strong Native Communities group that consists of Rhonda and me and Libby Lewis with CPAT and Clarice Harris, CAB members, and also our pillar and the director of our group was Dr. Hank Herrera, who we lost a few weeks ago from COVID. We've been trying to rebound from getting over that, and so our presentation is going to be short because we've had so many barriers since we've just started this committee here on the Wind River Reservation, with the COVID happening and the tribe shutting pretty much everything down since the end of March. So so we've been really struggling to get things worked out and done, and hopefully with this thing hopefully coming to an end, we can start to continue on working and doing what we're working on before this all happened. Go ahead, Rhonda.
But what we're trying to working on is increasing food access to families from the Red River Reservation. And then this is what we're working on. We're developing a list of organizations for families to access more healthy foods on the Wind River Reservation. Developing a board that pinpoints all the organizations that give food access to the communities. B, distribute a pamphlet that lists all our organizations that give people access to food. And then the next one was the CMP. We're working with CMP Extension, is working with Wind River Food Sovereignty Project with designing a menu for distributing healthy meals to elderly and disabled members that are homebound. That's like 3 meals a day for them. And then our last one is partnerships with other organizations that help food access to the communities that are underserved here on the reservation. And then these are our partnerships where that strong Native communities are working with. We're working with the Wind River Food Sovereignty Project and building greenhouses and gardens and developing a plan to give the community more access to healthy food. Blue Mountain Associates is a partner with Wyoming Wind River Food Sovereignty Project, Extension, CMP, and the farmers at the farmers markets, and they expand the food access. CMP program has been working on the reservation for at least 20 years of teaching nutrition and cooking classes, and also working with the program developing more food access in garden projects. And then we also working with partnership with Northern Rappel Crew that's helping distributing these food boxes on the reservation. And then we're gonna start putting nutrition recipes in their food boxes. We are also working with Northern Rappel and Eastern Shoshone Food Distribution and helping it get more healthier products and giving out healthier recipes, food samples to the community. And then we're also partnership with working with other programs and committees to develop food banks on the Wind River Reservation. And that was all I had. So.
Thanks, Rhonda. There are a lot of moving parts.
Oh yeah.
Kelly, did you want to add anything else?
No, only that hopefully we can get working. It's been a while and we're kind of anxious to get things started. We had just, the Wind River Food Sovereignty had just gotten the greenhouse done and built for their projects for growing more healthy vegetables and stuff for their farmers market and for their co-op. They're working on trying to get a co-op to build a restaurant here to promote local producers and food and more healthier recipes for the people here to have access so that they have a better choice instead of just getting dried foods here. So hopefully that will be coming up in the next year or so. Right now we're just getting it rid up, but hopefully that will be one of the things that we're hopefully gonna do. I know it was one of Hank's dreams of getting that done here, and we're gonna continue to work on it and have that come true.
Yeah, I'm really sorry to hear about Frank's passing, and I'm sure that's just hard for the whole committee going forward, but I also hear ways that you will honor his legacy in the work that you do. So thank you.
Absolutely.
All right. I think then we're ready to turn to Christine, kind of zooming back and looking at the big picture and the interconnection of all these different efforts and what we can take from them. Christine, I think I need to give you screen sharing power now.
And I'm actually, I can start with if Mindy, if you could unmute.
Oh, that's right. Sorry.
And I'm going to share my screen. I don't think you, but which I'm doing now, but because the session is co-hosted, I'm going to pull things together, and we're co-hosted by Strong Neighborhood Communities, Healthy People, and Fairness and Justice. And Mindy's the chair of Healthy People. And since she's otherwise not presenting, but there's some local food access work that her group's doing. So Mindy?
Absolutely. Thanks, Christine. And thanks, Mindy, go ahead.
You bet, thanks. Just from the Healthy Food Working Group, we have some things to share. The Wyoming Food Banks of the Rockies is working on increasing their use of local foods, and they're currently using some local foods and working strongly with the First Lady's initiative on the Food from the Field initiative, and then also the food from farmers ranchers, but they're also trying to source local foods from different sources. They're getting beef from Tin Sleep, navy beans from Powell, beef jerky from Cody, beef, lamb, pork through the Food from the Farm program, and then wild game through the Food from the Field program. So, trying to include that local piece. And then as far as the Wyoming Department of Education, they have over 80 schools that are at least getting one product locally, and then also an additional 80 schools that are doing gardening within the schools and using that in their food preparation. So really trying to encourage that local connection. And Tamara from Department of Education wanted me to make sure and let everyone know that there aren't any restrictions to source locally for schools. So if you can connect with your schools, there shouldn't be any barriers. So, if you have any questions, work through the Wyoming Department of Education, but they're really open to partnering on that. And then within the Sensible Nutrition Program, we encourage gardening and working with some farmers markets, and we donated over 12,000 pounds of produce to food pantries across Wyoming this past year. But really we're encouraging the food pantries to increase their healthy donations and working with them to get equipment that they can offer more produce and those kinds of things. So, smaller scale, but still working to encourage that connection with local food and Wyoming grown products.
Thank you.
So I think that's all I have. Thanks, Christine.
Yeah, that was great to hear. I like the list of specific foods that the food bank's distributing. So I'm going to try to do a little bit of tying some ends together in an overview of improving local food access in Wyoming. Things people have already told you, assets we can build on, and where we might want to be headed, and both discuss at the end of this session, and then in a workshop tomorrow between 11 and 12:30, we're going to try to get deeper into like what should we do in Wyoming, building on what we've got. So just thinking about the assets we have to build on, we've heard some of the amazing things happening at the farmers market in Wyoming Food for Thought markets. We have more per capita farmers markets than any other state in the country. So this is one of our strongest areas to build on for providing local food access to people in general. We need more producers. We need more accessibility for low-income shoppers using strategies like Sensible Nutrition's using. We also have some sort of CSAs, community shares, food box programs. For example, we heard about Edible Prairie Project. And to my knowledge, they're the only one in the state right now that has a low income or no cost CSA model, though they exist in some other states and with some other food box aggregating programs. These are just a few examples. And Feeding Laramie Valley gives away in Albany County local food in a shares program. as well. So these are some of the local food bag and box programs we have, only some of which have programs for sharing with low-income families. As we've heard and seen today, we have lots of other statewide assets and collaborations to build on. The last time I tried to do a summary like this, one of my punchline was we didn't have a statewide food coalition, and now we do. And that is huge for being able to move forward on these things. And we're so glad that people are here today to help us, guide what we're going to focus on. But you've heard about all of these initiatives, and we have lots of community-based organizations and efforts we can build on. There's the state food bank, Food Bank of the Rockies, but individual pantries and soup kitchens and community gardens, of course, our farms and ranches, and organizations that are working explicitly on good, healthy foods for all in Wyoming. And these are just a few examples, including there's also the Restoring Shoshone Ancestral Food Program, for example, in Wind River, in addition to programs we heard about and from today. And like the First Lady said, Wyoming is an all hands on deck kind of place, and you all are here and on deck, and that'll make a big difference. I think we have a lot of challenges, and I am only doing one slide's worth, longer than this, but of course we have the long streets. We're like a small community with long streets, as people say, so the distances are a challenge. That we heard some ways people are getting around that. We do have a difficult growing climate, plus the challenges of climate change, but that makes season extensions important. For example, our local fruits and vegetables are economically almost invisible in terms of what we produce in the state. I don't know if we're actually the lowest state in the country, but it's hard to imagine that less than 0.2% of your agriculture being fruit and vegetables is possible. So in spite of all the amazing food we've seen people growing and for sale at farmers markets, this is a huge area for growth that we could have in Wyoming that would also help increase access. Another huge area of those eligible for SNAP, for food benefits from the federal government, we have the lowest participation rate of those eligible. And we also have pretty limited women, infants, and children availability, but increasing our SNAP participation would increase the dollars people have to spend on healthy food and food, period, here in Wyoming without costing the state a cent, and increasing our food security. I would also say Wyoming is one of the minority of states that's not currently tapping the money available from the federal government for coupons for fresh fruits and vegetables for WIC, i.e. women, infants, and children, and for our seniors, so we could participate in that. This is very much a Food Policy Council question, but we rank 50th in the country for food investments for supporting regional food and making nutritious foods available from a state policy standpoint, and 43rd for farm investments. So lots of room for improvement there. And there's lots of more markets and box programs could have programs like Edible Prairie Project and Wyoming Food for Thought are doing. And of course, our huge question, like the First Lady talked about, is food insecurity. People who are not sure they're gonna have enough food to feed their families. And she pointed out that children and our elders are really at risk of this. And I'll also say in Wind River Reservation and the work that we've done with the Growing Resilience Project with the Community Advisory Board there with Rhonda's involved in, 65% of families, of the 100 families in that study were food insecure in the last month. 65%, that was before COVID, right? So that's an emergency. But yet our farmers have to make a living wage also. So it's not, the solution isn't cheaper food all by itself, right? So people, everyone making a living wage, including farmers. Just a few examples and then turning it back for discussion, but a few strategy examples we've heard about today, like CSAs charging on a sliding scale, subsidized by other customers, maybe some private fundraising or research grants. Markets raising funds for doubling SNAP dollars like we heard about, but farmers still get their full payment, or coupon programs. Alyssa and I both also got to work with Cass and Jamie at Wyoming Food for Thought, also evaluating the impact of coupons on the market, on fruit and vegetable consumption and on food security. And we saw outcomes that were at least as good as we saw with the CSAs. So having coupons that were good for health, for groceries at the market just skyrocketed people's fruit and vegetable consumption and food security. And pop-up Power Produce programs for kids is something else I know Wyoming Food for Thought does. Outreach through the kind of grassroots marketing that Cass talked about and beyond, to reach families who are struggling and let them know about these programs. But I think we're here especially interested in more statewide or regional solutions, like collaborations where each market doesn't have to figure out how to come up with the money to double up, that a statewide collaboration could help come up with that money so all markets could do it. Technical support for markets to provide these kinds of things in box programs like Food for Thought and Edible Prairie Project are doing. We could participate in these coupon programs. There's a lot of food that goes to waste in the United States. About 40% of our food is wasted. There's a lot of ways to do recovery on that if we're organized and work together. Increasing SNAP enrollment. And at the state level, these policies and economic diversification investments that would help nourish our people and our producers. And that is what I had before turning it to thinking about tomorrow, when we have an hour and a half to not just prioritize, but hopefully actually start thinking about what this coalition and these working groups should be doing, and maybe with some of your help, about giving local food, improving access to local foods for our families who are struggling financially.
Yeah.
While helping our farmers.
So it seems, oh, Christine, there was a quick question about food coupons. Do you want to explain that real quick, just so everybody's on the same page?
Yeah, sure. So in addition to the double up that the Wyoming Food for Thought was doing, we actually also had grant money to give families up to $80 worth of food at the market. Some got just fruits and vegetable coupons, some got for any kind of groceries, and some were controls. They only got their money later. And we found that people who got the coupons, it didn't matter what kind of coupon they got, that their food insecurity increased even though anyway, food insecurity increased radically. It was actually statistically significant, and their fruit and vegetable consumption increased radically and statistically significant compared to the people who didn't get the coupons right away and only got them later. So these kinds of, it makes sense, but we measured it, and there were really big outcomes from the free CSAs and from these coupons for food.
So it sounds like a similar idea to like the SNAP tokens, but instead of being tied to SNAP, it's just a coupon or a...
Right, they didn't have to put any money down.
Right. It was like a gift certificate, if you will.
So many people, I think, also did that, right? Yeah. They put down 20 on SNAP, got 20 from their double up program, and they had $80 over the course of 4 weeks.
Yeah,
that they could spend.
Got it.
Hopefully, we'll try that across the state when we can hopefully get USDA grant.
Yeah, wouldn't that be nice? So it seems like we've got these kind of highlights of things that are percolating, and places where we have strengths and momentum, and then also some enduring challenges. We've got some time. I'm going to send folks to small groups to kind of chew on this a little bit. And in your small groups, I don't have this typed up on a slide, but so I'm just going to tell you. As you listen to both the great things that are happening and also the enduring needs, I'd like folks to just think about what resonates with them from wherever you sit and wherever your priorities are. What ideas did you hear that really resonate with you, or sparked an idea, or sparked some questions? We'll just kind of get a sense of where there's energy in the group, and ultimately it'll be up to these different working groups to then follow through with those. But some feedback from the larger group and folks who maybe can't participate in the breakout group tomorrow can have some input in I don't say full on prioritizing, but where there might be some energy and interest. As you have that conversation too, I'd like you to think about where can the coalition as a whole maybe have the biggest impact, right? Because there's different things that committees can do on their own and whatever else, but a coalition like this with all of your diverse voices has a special power that's unique. And so thinking about if there's things that really speak to when you think about the coalition as a whole. So with that, I'm going to break you to small groups. They're going to be hopefully real mixed up, so we won't have all the same people that just presented in the same group. I'm going to make those groups now so I don't forget. So you are, again, talking about what ideas, I got to recreate them all. What ideas really stand out to you Let's see if that works. Really stand out to you as far as being compelling or urgent or particularly ripe for the needs as you see them in, in Wyoming. All right, I'm trying, I already see where I have people doubled up, so I'm trying to switch you around. Mindy and Christine and Melvin, you all ended up in the same group, and I know enough to know that that isn't what we want. I don't always know who's who, but let's see. There we go. All right, so assuming folks are on and can join, I think these should be relatively balanced. Again, your prompt is what stood out to you, and if you could kind of wave your magic wand and encourage these different working groups in one direction or another of where they could focus over the next year, what ideas are most standing out to you with that? So you've got about 10 minutes in the room. 8 minutes in the room. So go ahead and join that room and we'll report back when you come back. Cassandra and Kelly, Frank and Adam, Rachel, if you just want to click that button to join the room.